everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we've got a top 10 list for the Draft Box 6 Giant Force cards that was released yesterday. This video should have been released yesterday, but it wasn't, so it's fine. We're going to do it today. And I really do like the design direction of this draft box, and unlike kind of like older draft boxes, there aren't like any like super generically good cards. It's more of cards that are good in archetypes, and so you don't have to like spend a lot of money on the cards like that are universally good. I think it's just well balanced, and I think this will help like the players and the metagame too. So a lot of cool cards. This will be more of a fun list, I guess. I mean, it's all depends really what kind of cards you want to play and what archetypes you want, because it's a really archetype focused draft box compared to I feel like other ones where it's just kind of generically good cards for generic colors and everything. So I think it's going to be a good time. If you guys want any cards from this draft box, you guys are buying singles or anything, please consider also using my TCG Player link in the description below. If you just click that and then you buy cards on TCG Player, I get a kickback and just supports me, so I would appreciate that. And yeah, without further ado, let's go into the top 10 list.
Number 10.
To start us off, we've got the Biobro Giant Force rare Unison card. So one, I really think that it's cool that we got like a bunch of new Unisons in this draft box, and so there are a lot of cool ones, and a lot of them are unique as well, especially this Biobro in a lot of ways. So first, I mean, it's a green 1-drop Unison, so it's already fighting for Demigraph space, but I think that there are certain decks and archetypes where this is just like a better Unison for it, and it just really helps out kind of decks like immediately Starter Frieza comes to mind, because being able to discard cards and have a Unison up on turn 1 would help the deck out a lot, not having to wait until turn 2. So I like this guy a lot, and what it does is just auto choose one card in your hand, discard it. If this card is placed in its owner's drop area from a Unison area during your opponent's skill or opponent's turn, play it from the drop area with one marker on it, and you can't play copies of it for the turn. So the fact that you can have it come back and it's hard, like it has like one more marker at times, is really nice. And then also has a +1. You may choose one card in your hand, discard it if you do draw one card, and it has a good -4 effect of choose 2 cards in your hand, discard them. Then choose 2 cards in your opponent's hand and then discard them. This card gets +16k in dual attack for the turn. So it's just like a really good like late game thing too. Like a lot of like 1-drop Unisons, they have like some really middling effects that are like good in the early game, but like really drop off late game. But this guy, if you're able to keep him around since turn 1, even if you just hard cast this guy for 5, being able to have a 25k dual attack, which, a Unison card too, which, Unisons are usually hard to interact with too. You can't like pop them as easy. Being able to just have that guy, like have 2 swings and get rid of 2 cards from your opponent's hand for 5 energy, I think it's fine. I think that's a fine, end game potential. So not only is he great early game, he's good late game, and I think he can facilitate decks like Star Deck Frieza.
Number 9.
Next up, we've got King Piccolo, the new ruler. So he's a 15k double striker, and then permanent. If your leader card is red, this card gets +5k power, and your opponent can't activate blockers skills in response to this card's attack. So just being able to have like a 20k double striker that you can play for free, because it has an active main of, if you have a red Unison card and play with 3 or more markers on it, play this card from your hand. You can't play copies of this card for the turn. It also has this effect that at the end of your turn, send this card to its owner's warp. So I think that's fairish, right? Because you're able to have like a lot of pressure with this guy, but you don't get like he goes away, right? But I think it's like really good because there haven't been like a lot of cards that benefit from these red Unison cards. I feel like red's been like one of the green and blue for sure have a lot of Unison card support and everything, but reds kind of have a hard time, and it's weird because red has like one of the best like ways for Unison interaction, because you can just like add tokens or add markers for doing stuff you're doing anyways. So it just doesn't have like a payout, right? I don't feel like there have been a lot of like good red Unisons that you want to have a lot of counters on, or there's not anything that's like super good for having those counters on a Unison card. So I think just the design of this card being able to have like a free play 15k double strike 20k, or sorry, it's a 20k double strike that can't activate blockers, nice. No negates would be best, but it's still I think a powerful card, and something that red needs, especially like there hasn't been a lot of red decks besides like red Broly right now, and this can even fit into red Broly just because you just have to have a red leader and you have to have 3 or more Unison markers on your Unison cards, and that's super easy in that archetype too, because they actively add cards as well. So I think this card's good, and this is probably like one of the few like generically good colored cards, and I don't think it's broken, but I think it's good for what it does.
Number 8.
Next up, we've got the Bergamo Unison. I super like this card. I'm only going to put it at 8 because I don't want to bias myself, but I think this card is super neat, and that's really like the thing. It has like some cool flavor to it, And it's also like a really good yellow Unison. Unisons are kind of specific to what their archetypes are, and they're not really flexible in a lot of ways. They're kind of like rigid and really good for only if you're playing like the cards and deck profile or deck for it. And I guess this Bergamo still kind of fits into that because you have to like run either skillless or Universe 9 cards, but it has this cool effect. So it's a 5k, and then it gets plus 3k power for every marker on it, and it has a +0 effect that just adds a marker to it. Which is fine, but auto once per turn when your opponent attacks this card, you also add a marker to this guy. So when you play him turn 1, you get a marker to him for playing it. You get another one for the +0, so you become an 11k. So if your opponent tries to swing over it, they can swing it at it, and then it becomes a 14k because you add a marker to it, and then they have to waste a card to get like a marker off it. So just being able to have like potentially easy 2 markers on turn. Turn 1, and then also having your opponent have to invest resources to get you down below 2 tokens, I think is really, really good. And just also like if they swing onto your Bergamo and then you negate the attack, you still get the auto once per turn, so you still get the marker for it. And which is I think is also a good effect as well. So that's great. The -2 is a little bit it's fine. I think there's some good cards that it abused with -2 for. You just play up to 1 skillless battle card, Universe 9 card with any cost 2 or less from your deck in rest mode, then shuffle your deck. It kind of sucks that's in rest mode as well, but just being able to play something for free like late game when you already have like a bunch of tokens on it, or you don't care if this thing survives anymore, I think is good. I think it's a cool card. I like it a lot, and I'm interested to see what kind of decks it will go into.
Number 7.
Next up, we've got the Lord Slug Super Namekian. This is a really neat card, and Slug's been like in and out of the meta for years, right? It's always been kind of powerful, being able to be like a crit aggressive deck and like hand destruction and everything. But this card has like 2 really nice things for it. So it's a unique barrier. I'll go to the active main first. So just for 1 yellow. If your lyric card's yellow or Slug's army, you can discard this card from your hand, and play up to 1 Slug army card with any cost of 1 from your deck, then shuffle your deck. So worst case, you have to be running yellow, and I think there's a lot of good like yellow-green stuff for the Slug in this set too. But if you're able to use the 1 yellow to play like a wings from your deck, this just means like there's extra copies of wings in your deck, and like that's like the most inconsistent thing about the Slug deck. You're only able to run like 4 wings, and if you don't see it turn 1, you can have like some rough starts. But being able to play this, you have to run yellow, so that can make it inconsistent in different ways. But just being able to do that and go from there is really good. So I think it's a great effect being able to do that just in general, just for like tutoring for that, but also has a permanent bond too. When this card's in rest mode, your opponent can't add cards from their deck to their hand using non-leader card skills. So that's just also really good. So you can't like use super combos, you can't do any of that kind of stuff. And it's just, I mean, it's a 30k or 20k with barrier as well, so it just helps you out a bunch. And I just like this card a lot. It's if you are able to cheat him out, because like the new 1-drop Slug can also cheat him out as well. You can make your opponent like have a hard time gaining card advantage, which is great because you're already like an aggressive like card destruction deck anyways. So if you're kind of negating your opponent from getting any other card advantage just besides their leader swing, you're in like a really good spot. So I like this card. I think it's good, and I haven't seen like a lot of Slug decks recently, and I don't know why. So maybe I need to make one myself. But I think this helps the deck immensely.
Number 6.
Next up, we've got sungoku Nimbus Master. Very neat card. So auto, if it's your opponent's turn at the end of battle where this card is used in a combo, play up to 1 skillless battle card with energy cost 2 or less from your deck or drop area. Shuffle your deck if you look through it, and you can't activate auto's skills on this card for the turn. And also for 1 active main, you can send 1 skillless battle card from your drop area to a warp. You can play this card from your hand. So both these effects are really good. Like this is a really neat card because it's super flexible in a lot of ways, and I think like in general for this draft box, they did a lot of cool things with skillless cards. They've always been kind of like putting skillless cards in like the past 2 draft boxes, and they've been like okay effects. But I think like this is one of the best ones. Being able to just play one like for 1 energy, you get like a super combo, right? So you get to play a 10k combo. And then after you combo, you get to play a skillless from your deck, which worst case, you just get like an extra 5k. Like this like draws you a card that you also play on the board. It's just great, right? Because you can get like a 20k out, and then you can use it later. If you need like an emergency combo later in the turn, that's also there for you. I've also played with this card in like Hit Reboot, where you're able to have like Frieza's Healing Pod, and then you can use this card to play a green skillless card from your drop area, and you get to draw a card from this. Very good. And then just being able to play it for 15k for 1 energy is fine too. So both these effects are great, and it's really cool to see like some. I don't think this is broken, but I think it's like helps skillless decks where they've kind of been struggling for like the last year or so. So like the card, and I think it's really good.
Number 5.
All right, halfway through the list, and I'm going to cheat because it's my list and I can do that. But we've got 2 cards for number 5. I chose Tapion and Hirudegarn. I couldn't choose which one I liked more because I like them for different reasons. I'm trying to only do like 1 card per kind of archetype kind of thing. But both these cards are fantastic, and I really like them. And so we're gonna, and they're both like, I like green cards. So, but I'm gonna use Tapion. If I was to have to choose one, it's probably gonna be Tapion, just because this is like a super cool. Like I really like the design for this card. So it's an active main for either 1 blue or 1 green energy, which is very unique. They haven't really done this before. And if your leader card is green or Phantom Beam, you can choose discard this card from your hand and choose 1. You either draw 1 card, then play this card from your drop it at the end of your turn. So like having a 15k blocker turn 1 is really good, and it replaces itself, so you get a draw cards, which it's just like that's just generically good in any blue or green deck. Like it's really good. I can think of just a bunch of like good reasons like this. Like it's just good, right? And like it meshes with like Frieza's healing pod, so you can like draw 2 cards for 1 energy. Like I like pod as well, but that's really good. And the other one is you can activate up to 1 sealed music box from your deck and then shuffle your deck, which is still like just about as much card advantage because you're able to play that music box and then you're able to look top 7 for any of the cards you need for your combos, and then you can go from there and go from there. And it, like Tapion just puts itself in its drop area, which is good for like your Hirudegarn stuff, especially like the Power Burst 7-drop blue Hirudegarn as well. It's just great. Like just being able to put it in your drop area for doing what you want to do anyways is good. So I like this guy. And then this one's just like a monster of a card. It's got so many things that I like on it. It's got Revive, and then you can get this card out for like 1 green energy, which is silly. And then if your lyric's green or Fan Beam when this card activates blocker, you just make your opponent discard a card. So like this is just like a really grindy, good card, and it has Revive too, so it has like a lot of cool stuff with that. But I like the card a lot. It's got some cool things, and I think it's a cool boss monster as well, especially because you can recurse it really really easily. And in general, I think the Hirudegarn chain is really fun, and it has like a lot of potential for to be good. It can be kind of bricky, and it's kind of like large because there's such a big chain of cards, but it does what it does really well, and I think there's some cool combos and interactions with it. So I like the deck. Tapion I think is better, but I had to do an honorable mention to Hirudegarn.
Number 4.
Next up, we've got maybe not like a really exciting card, but I think a much needed card for just for what it is, right? So it on the surface is not super crazy. It's an arrival for 1 green. It's a double strike, 20k Goku. But the biggest thing already for this card is that it's a arrival for red green arrival for strictly 1 green, which doesn't exist right now. This is literally the first red green 1 green specific green energy arrival card. Like all the other ones are red, like the expansion set Vegito, like when arrival cards first came out and everything. But like this is just good. It's a good card. So being able to do this for 1 green is fine. And then also has this active battle once per turn. You can place up to 1 card from your opponent's combo area in its owner's drop area. Then choose up to 1 of your Unison cards or battle cards. Other than this card gets plus 5k power for the turn. So on defense, like if you're playing against your opponent and you're on their turn they're swinging in, you can like play this, arrival it out, and then you can like do something where you give one of your opponent's battle cards like -5, or you get rid of a combo. So you can get rid of like a super combo if you're playing this on like a rival. And then also you choose up to 1 of your battle cards, gets plus 5k power as well. So like, it's just like a lot of good synergy for a lot of good cards. And so like, being able to do that plus 5k is really important. And you can get like a red card at 25k, which means you can use like the SS4 Heartfelt Plea Goku on Awaken. The red yellow one. Like they can just help that kind of stuff. And you can still like use this effect on your own turn, because even if you don't have to like hard choose 1 card in your opponent's combo area. So you can just like give something plus 5k on your turn. So it's fine. Like a Unison card, especially like giving a Unison card plus 5k if it has like dual attack or something like that is super powerful as well. So there's just like a lot of cool interactions with this card. I think this is a fun card for decks that run red-green. And we haven't seen like a lot of red-green decks been popular. So being able to have like a good tool for that I think is really nice.
Number 3.
For number 3, we've got Higher Dragon, A Kind Friend. There's just been so many Higher Dragon cards they printed. Like from the first, like when it first got introduced, there's just like the Skillless card. But now they've made like a dozen different Higher Dragon cards. But this is just strictly just good value and like an auto include in the Gohan deck. But it's just for 1 yellow. If you have 2 or more energy and it's your opponent's turn, at the end of your battle, when you use this card in a combo, you play up to 2 skillless battle cards with energy cost of 1 for your deck or drop area, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it, and then you can't activate. But like you get to play 2 cards for 1 energy, which is already good, and they're from your deck, so you don't lose card. This is like a +1 in card advantage by itself. and you're able to place 2 skill lists. So like worst case, you can combo those off later, and you get like a free extra 10k. So like it's like 15k combo for only 1 energy, which is great, and 1 card and 1 energy. So that's already very, very good. It's a higher dragon too, so you're able, if you're awakened, you get some stuff. It's just super. It's really plain and simple that this card is really good for for the deck that it's in. And if skillless Gohan is a good deck coming up, then this is automatically a good card in it, and it's just you run 4 of it. Like it's super easy. There's no benefit, like there's no down point for it. You just play this card and you get a lot of value, and you start to win with it. So I like the card a lot. I think it's really good, and I don't have to explain it anymore. It's just a really good card.
Number 2.
For number 2, and this, I fought between number 1 and number 2. This one's probably the more powerful card in general, and it's also like more expensive because like it's at $36 right now, which is crazy. Like this, I think this is like the most expensive card in the draft box, but super good card. So it's an Overwhelm for 5, or Dark Overwhelm for 5, which, I mean, if you're playing with black anyways, Dark Overwhelm's better. Because for 2 energy, you can just plop this guy down, he stays unless your opponent gets rid of it. But when this card's playing, you used Overwhelm or Dark Overwhelm, draw 1, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, send it to the owner's warp. So for 2 energy, real quick, so for 2 energy already, you get to play a 30k, which is insane. You get to get rid of one of your opponent's cards. So you go plus, or you go even, right? And then you get to draw another card. So I guess you go like +2 because you get rid of one of your opponent's cards, and you get to draw the card, and it gets sent to the warp, which is better than sending it to the drop area. So already, like, this card pays for itself, especially if it's like a 30k that keeps going. But also when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and sends it to their warp. So like if you use Dark Overrun with this card, you get to do a swing with it, and then if your opponent doesn't get rid of this guy, then you get to like continuously gain more and more value. So if you like just swing with this guy, you play this guy and swing, you go +3 immediately because you're able to pop a card, you're able to draw a card, and get rid of 1 card in your opponent's hand. It's insane. Like it kind of reminds me of like there's this Yu-Gi-Oh card called Trishula where like you play it and you get to get rid of like 1 card in like 3 areas of your opponent's, and it was super broken. It's a totally different game though, so I can't like make a direct comparison to it. But just the fact that you can play this on turn 2 easily, and in the decks that run Overwhelm, it's like super good. And it's a 5k combo for no good reason, and it's 30k, so you can play in Dark Broly, and it has synergy with it. There's just so much good things with it. I'm not surprised this is a $30 plus card, and I think it's any deck that's running black right now, like a lot of like black, Overwhelm or anything is really good. And you're not like restricted to your leader. It can just be any leader. It doesn't have to be like a Demon God or a Dark Wizard or anything. You can just play this guy and it's fine as long as you can meet its conditions. So I think it's great. And honestly, I'm a little scared of this card. It's really, really good.
Number 1.
And lastly, once again, I think that the Demigra is probably the more powerful card, but I like this card more, and it's my list, so it's number 1. This is just a really, really cool card, and I think it helps skill list, and it has like a lot of cool interactions, and I just like the card a lot. So it has this auto: when this card is played from your hand, play up to 1 skill list battle card with any cost 2 or less from your deck, or drop here, then shuffle your deck if you look through it, and activate for 1 green, choose one of your skill list battle cards, any cost of 2 or less, and return it to its owner's hand. Play this card from your hand, you can't play copies of this for the turn. So like quick and easy. If you have a 20k out, you swing, right? And then that's a big 20k swing, right? And then you, for 1 energy, for just 1, you're able to get a 15k out. You get to put the 20k back into your hand, and you get to play a 20k from your deck or drop area, right? So it's like the same, like the conversion is close to, okay, for 1 energy, I get to untap one of my 20k swingers, play a 15k, and draw a card, right? Because you get the card back to your hand. It oozes value. It's just so good. And if there's any like green skillless deck, like this is an auto include, and it just generates a bunch of value, and it's super splashable too. Like skillless is really good for being splashable and being able. It's not restricted to any leader color, and the skillless battle cards you play aren't restricted either. So it's just easy to splash this into any deck that runs green and skillless. So you can just have like 1 green energy, boop, you play Saiyaman 2, and then you just go from there. I like this card a lot. It has a lot of good value, and if any good skillless decks are coming out with green, this is like once again an auto include, and I just like the design for it. I think it's really cool. And that's really just the list. These are just 10 cards that I really like. They're not like I'd say the most powerful. I think Demigra is still like the most powerful card, and which is why it's like super expensive right now. But that's really what my thoughts are. But obviously there's a lot of other good cards for it. There's so many Unisons in here too that I probably could have also put in this list, but I didn't. But I want to know what your guys' opinions are. What cards should have been on this list that I totally didn't put on, and what cards are you kind of excited for this? So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.